That guy, you know, had a full-on free shot, you know, and hit like a powder puff, you know. Your music or your album's kind of like your political stance. Well, theirs is completely different than ours, and I think theirs doesn't have anything to do with rock and roll as far as I'm concerned.
When was the last time you actually spoke, you two?
That was 1996.
Do you remember the last words?
Basically, it was just that I'm done.
You in the jungle, baby! You're gonna die! So welcome to the jungle!
If Guns N' Roses are the Rolling Stones of their generation, a large part of the reason is W. Axl Rose, who may be the most exciting and charismatic singer of the current hard rock era.
For most rock fans, the idea of anyone hating David Bowie is baffling, but Axl Rose never played by the usual rules of reverence. In the late 1980s, Guns N' Roses were on the rise and filming the video for It's So Easy, a chaotic visual ode to their hedonistic lifestyle. Erin Everly, Axl's then girlfriend, featured in the shoot. Bowie, ever the cultural omnivore, turned up on set. According to multiple accounts, Bowie wasn't just there as a curious onlooker. He reportedly made a series of flirtatious remarks toward Everly, which didn't go unnoticed.
Before the millennium, David Bowie could be something of a nuisance to his contemporaries, earning himself the nickname The Devil from Bromley, from his old friend Mick Jagger for his many drunken shenanigans in the ER, perhaps, of a girlfriend stealing. One example of such mischief saw the iconic English singer land himself in hot water with Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose.
Rose, known for his thin skin and hair-trigger temper, responded in the only way he seemed to know, with confrontation. He ran up to Bowie and allegedly punched him in the face. In some versions of the story, he also threatened to kill him. The incident might have escalated into something even nastier had their mutual circles not intervened. The feud lingered for years, but surprisingly, the two rock icons did eventually reconcile. Bowie, older and more experienced in the art of diffusing celebrity egos, extended an olive branch. "Bowie and I had our differences," Rose later admitted, "and then we talked and went out to dinner and then went down the China Club and stuff." While this resolution marked the end of that particular spat, it set the tone for how Axl Rose handled perceived slights from other artists. That unpredictable volatility came to the fore again in one of Axl's earliest altercations. Guns N' Roses were still making their name on the Hollywood club circuit when they played a raucous set in front of a typically rowdy crowd. During the show, a woman in the front row began spraying beer at the band and throwing bottles on stage. In a moment that has since passed into LA rock folklore, Axl swung his mic stand into the crowd and struck her. Unfortunately for Rose, the woman in question happened to be the girlfriend of Bob Forrest, the frontman of Thelonious Monster. Forrest was backstage when he heard what had happened. Furious, he stormed over to confront Rose. Things quickly got out of hand. All of a sudden he goes, "Wait, you hit my girlfriend? I'm gonna kill you." And that was it, Rose recalled. "I started tearing him to shreds. The guy had grabbed one of Steven's drum stands by then, and the security guard had grabbed me. I had this security guy pinned against the wall, and my hands were filled with the other guy's hair. It was a huge mess." The incident underlined that Axl's anger didn't discriminate between up-and-coming musicians and global legends. If he felt crossed, he struck out, verbally, physically, and sometimes both. By the early 90s, Guns N' Roses were the biggest band on the planet. But a new musical tide was rising. Nirvana, with their raw, stripped-down sound and anti-rockstar ethos, offered a stark contrast to the excesses of bands like GNR. Axl was actually a fan. He saw potential for a blockbuster tour pairing and extended an invitation to Nirvana. Kurt Cobain, unimpressed by Rose's lyrics and public image, declined. His dismissal wasn't subtle. "We're not your typical Guns N' Roses type of band that has absolutely nothing to say," Cobain told one interviewer. He also objected to Rose's misogynistic lyrics and antics. Rose took it personally. What might have been a moment of mutual respect turned into a bitter war of words. He began mocking Cobain in public, attacking both him and Courtney Love with a viciousness that shocked even his own fans. Alternative? The only thing that means to me is someone like Kurt Cobain in Nirvana, who is basically just a junkie with a junkie wife, Rose raged in one infamous interview, and if the baby's born deformed, I think they both ought to go to prison.
Right now, alternative, only thing that means to me is someone like Kurt Cobain in Nirvana, who basically is a junkie with a junkie wife. And if the baby's born deformed, I think they both ought to go to prison. That's my feeling.
It was more than a feud. It was a reflection of a cultural shift that Rose was unwilling to embrace. So far, we've seen Axl Rose take on a musical shapeshifter, an underground punk singer, and the reluctant king of grunge. Each clash tells us something about Axl, his intensity, his loyalty, and his inability to let go of a slight. But was he right to defend his pride so fiercely, or did he cross a line into outright hostility? Let us know in the comments if you think these feuds were justified or completely out of order. If the Cobain clash had echoes of cultural war, the feud with Vince Neil of Motley Crue was pure Sunset Strip drama. It began when Neil's wife at the time, Cherise Ruddle, claimed that GNR guitarist Izzy Stradlin had assaulted her at the MTV Music Awards. Neil, never one to back down, responded by punching Stradlin in the face.
When Stradlin and Rose made an appearance at the MTV Video Music Awards show, Neil was lying in wait when they came off stage and hit Stradlin with a sucker punch.
Axl, in turn, promised retribution. He challenged Neil to a fight, publicly and repeatedly. In interviews, Rose sounded like a boxer, hyping a title bout. "Name the place, name the time, and I'll be there," he said.
You know, I put in a magazine, you know, anytime he wants it, anywhere, Atlantic City, I don't care. We'll put money on it, you know. I don't care, you know. And then he tried to turn it around and say the same thing. But, you know, the invitation's there. I'm easy to find.
Neil fired back with his own threats, saying he'd fight Axl anywhere, anytime. But the showdown never happened.
I want to put an end to this, and what I want is, Axl, if you're watching this, I want to challenge you to a fight. I'm going to give you the time, and I'm going to give you the place, and there's no backing out now, buddy, and it's time to put up or shut up.
It's funny because Izzy's like going, because people think it's going to happen sooner or later or whatever, and it's like that Vince and I'll get into it or something, you know, and Izzy laughs because he's like, that guy, you know, had a full-on free shot, you know, and hit like a powder puff, you know.
The logistics of organizing an actual fight between two world-famous musicians proved trickier than expected. Rose claimed Neil kept backing out. Neil insisted Axl was all talk. In the end, the fight remained in the realm of fantasy, an unmade pay-per-view spectacle. Despite the lack of physical resolution, the beef lingered for years. As recently as the 2000s, Neil was still taking jabs. "Axl doesn't do anything unless it's on a teleprompter," he said in one interview. Rose, for his part, has remained largely silent on the subject in recent years. Though technically not a feud with a fellow singer, the falling out between Axl Rose and Slash deserves a mention. It wasn't just a professional split, it was a personal rift that changed the course of Guns N' Roses entirely. The issues began in the early 90s and escalated after Slash left the band in 1996. Rose refused to speak his name publicly, often referring to him only as the guitarist.
It wasn't even me necessarily leaving the band. It was not continuing on with the new band that Axl put together that he was now at the helm of.
At the heart of the problem was control. Rose wanted creative authority and tighter oversight of the band's direction. Slash, more laid back, but fiercely principled, pushed back. The conflict reached a peak when Rose legally claimed ownership of the band's name, effectively locking Slash out of the group he helped create. What people don't understand is that Axl owns the name Guns N' Roses, Slash explained in later years. He made it clear that if we didn't go along with his changes, we were out. Their relationship remained icy for 2 decades. Rose skipped out on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2012 to avoid sharing the stage with his former bandmates.
I don't know if it matters who's here tonight because it's about the music that band created.
But in 2016, something remarkable happened. Rose, Slash, and Duff McKagan reunited for the Not in This Lifetime tour. Fans were stunned. Whether it was maturity, nostalgia, or the appeal of a lucrative tour, the reunion marked one of the rare times Axl reversed course on a feud. But it also reinforced just how deep the earlier bitterness had run.